Good evening. Welcome to our regular Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paulette O'Brien.
Here.
Judy Boucher.
Here.
John
Here.
Scott Latham. Brian Tobin. In the event of an emergency, the visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building. Do not attempt to leave in your automobiles, since this may cause traffic problems and block incoming emergency channels.
Thank you, Patty. The first item on our agenda is the first hearing of visitors. During this time, we ask that questions and comments be kept to agenda items only. There'll be a second hearing at the end of the meeting. Does anyone care to address the board at this time? Okay. I'm going to turn it to you for number 6.
So we spoke over the summer about having a graduation requirement presentation, and then we kind of extended that a little bit to a curriculum instruction and what goes on, and inclusive of graduation requirements. And Ms. O'Neill and Mr. Rush have, with their people, put together a presentation for us that we're going to share with you. So I'm going to ask the board if you want to come around and sit in the front. It'd be probably a little bit easier to see. And Ellen and Terrence, I'm going to hand it off to you guys.
No kidding. This is on, right, if I just click? Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks to the students for coming. I have to say this is going to make our presentation much more exciting having you here than Mr. Rush and I doing all the talking. So thank you very much. So Dr. Morrow asked that we share some of the curriculum and instruction that's taking place at each of the buildings. So I'm going to start with literacy. So I have a lot of words on the screen. I won't be reading all of the words that are there. But so for literacy, our focus at the elementary school is, and has always been, really literacy acquisition. So in the younger grades, they start with learning their letters and working their way up. And I always tell the staff our most important, or my most important goal, and it's all of ours, is that you all leave the elementary school loving to read and at least liking to write. Loving to write. So really loving to read. The more you read, the better you get at it. So we use a workshop model, and we use the Teachers College units of study as a guide to help the teachers through the different stages of reading and writing. So the workshop model involves doing a focused mini lesson. So the teachers will start with one particular strategy they want to teach or a skill. They'll do a mini lesson on it. The students will go off and do some work independently. The teachers will either conference with individual students or pull a small group together and work, maybe a guided reading group, and then come back together at the end, and they usually share something that they've learned. The teacher will check in throughout the workshop that day to make sure that the students are understanding what they need to do. And that usually involves a unit of study that might take 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even longer. So these are not short little units, but each lesson builds upon the next. And then at the end, there's a culminating either some sort of activity or a writing piece that the students will bring usually all the way through the entire writing process. Within that, I have some great pictures here of some kids. So actually, we have students on all the way to the left. They are actually, I was trying to get it and it was a little odd, but so they are they're working independently on a writing piece. So the teacher had already done the mini lesson. They were gathered together. They went back to their seats and they were working individually on their own writing piece. And then they came back after. I just happened to take that picture and walk in at that time. And then in the middle, I couldn't resist. So we have some 5th graders that met with kindergartners. Mr. McGoey and Mrs. Phillips' class met with Mrs. Bonayuto's class, and they did buddy reading, which I don't know, I know a bunch of you have been either the little kids or the bigger kids, and Mrs. Health is shaking her head because one of her boys is in this class, and if you look on Facebook, I posted a bunch of them. It was adorable. Yes? no, go ahead, sure.
Is this done daily?
The buddy reading? Oh. Literacy, yes, so it is done daily. Now, they might alternate one day, spend more time on reading, more time on writing. I don't schedule it, that's up to the teachers to do, but literacy is taught every single day, absolutely. So the buddy reading was just adorable, and what great way for our fifth graders to practice their reading than reading with the littler kids who now look up to the fifth graders, so it was absolutely adorable. And then all the way on the right happened to be this morning. I was in Mrs. Suter and Miss Kasdan's classroom, and Mr. Ruggie was in there as well, who's our ENL teacher. So the three of them, actually Miss Kasdan was not in the room at the time, but the three of them co-teach together a period a day, and they were working on a writing lesson where the kids were learning to start with a problem and to then expand on their problem. So it's a little tiny piece of a realistic fiction story. And I had to snap that picture because it was just perfect. They were bouncing off each other. The kids, this was the mini lesson. Then the kids went off and did some sketching and drawing and then came back again at the end. So that's what the focus is. It's too much to get into all of the topics that they cover. But again, our goal by the end of elementary school is that we've scaffolded so that what they start learning in kindergarten each year gets a little added onto a little bit more. So any more questions about the literacy, this piece before I? So the next piece, one that we do in K through 2. So this says K to 3 because the program can go up to third grade, but at SES we do K through 2, mostly K through 1, a little bit of second. Foundations is a multisensory structured language program to teach phonics. So do you all remember A, apple, ah? The kids sitting in, even the big kids, are all shaking your head. So that is Foundations, the program that we use to help teach phonics. And then the teachers will do various other activities as well. So this picture is Mrs. Krakowski's kindergarten class, and it's not a Foundations lesson, but they do ABC boot camp. Any of you remember ABC boot camp? Alexa, you did it last year in kindergarten. So what the teachers do is each day focuses on a letter for 26 days, and it's all these fun activities they do, and it really helps drive home the ABC so that they can move on to the next stage of the reading process. So we've been using Foundations for a number of years. So last year we started a new math program called Go Math. We used a different program previously, but it was not meeting the needs of our students. So we switched to Go Math. This is our second year of using it, and so, again, I won't go into all of it, but the whole idea, and I highlighted or made bold, it's a comprehensive program developed to support state standards for mathematics, but also it emphasizes essential questions, big ideas, and then having the students conceptually understand what it is that they're doing. So it's not just rote memorization. This is how, here, practice 25 addition problems or division problems. It's having the students really understand what it means to divide and be able to use it in lots of different areas, not just in class in math. So we want to be students to be able to demonstrate their learning outside of math class and use it so when they come up to this building, they're doing things like building and robotics and all of those great things. That starts at the elementary school. So that's our new math program. It seems to be going well. It is still new to us. So on the left, we have some fifth graders that we're doing a Go Math work individually after Mrs. Mellis did a lesson. And then on the right, another kindergartner. I can't help but put the kindergartners in. While the teacher was working in a small group on the Go Math lesson, the students were practicing centers. And I don't know if you can see, but it's a little card, and they had to clip the number of dots. They had to put the clip on it. So it's just reinforcing numeracy and number sense. And he was too cute not to put in the picture. So, and any questions about Go Math?
What was the program we were using before?
Envision, the Pearson program.
Okay.
And then before that was Everyday Math.
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite a few.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Envision lasted, and Everyday Math was the first number of years I was here. When I came, we already had it. Envision, and then Envision changed over time, but it really isn't, as a parent of students who also used it, it just wasn't meeting the needs of our students. And it really wasn't, it was very tricky, the way they were wording, so we moved this. Seems that Go Math is used in New York City and many of the districts on the island. It seems to be the one that was going to focus most on, again, conceptual understanding and having them use their learning in other areas, not just in a math book.
Is there I mean, because you hear this from people, all different sides of it, is there a little bit of the rote instruction there in terms of, I mean, at the end of the day, you
you gotta get your times tables down.
Yes,
and stuff like
absolutely.
that. Is there still
Yes.
that basis?
Yep, so on the left, you'll see the boys actually have a workbook that they were working in. There's also an online component as well. So they have to, some of that you have to do. You have to memorize your times tables. You need to be fluent in adding and subtracting, right? Or should be in order to move on. But there's also a deeper understanding of what you're doing. Mhm. And
What does 3 times 3 mean?
yes,
3
and
times you're doing.
yes, and then problem solving. So that was one of the issues with our previous, the word problems were very confusing. I know as a parent, I had to read some of the word problems numerous times to figure it out, and I do this all day, all day long, right? So they were very tricky. This seems to be a little more, we want the students to be able to read a problem and try to solve it, but we don't want to try to trick them. That's not the idea. So yes, and then we also, the teachers are very good at having students do things not just in the workbook. So they might play games, they might do an activity on the computer, but they also might take something and, build rockets in 6th grade, or, to try to do a problem, project-based learning as well. But there is definitely a piece, and that's important, just like the ABCs, right? We need to learn our ABCs. You need to learn numeracy, and there is a piece of the rote part, yes. But we don't want to stop there. We want to go to the next level with the kids, absolutely. Anybody else? Okay. So social studies, just quickly, we use inquiry units of study that are district developed, that we've looked at what other districts did. It's been a number of years, so this is something on our list to look at this year to see if we need to update the units at all. But again, it's more about the students understanding the reasons why and the reasons behind social studies, not just memorizing dates of wars and, basic information. So you need to understand that, and you need to know that, but we want the students to be able to demonstrate. It says, I like the line it said here, the primary purpose of social studies is to help young people develop the ability to make informed and reasoned decisions for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an interdependent world. I like that sentence because that's really the goal of the social studies. Science, I had a whole lot here, so we do have a K through 5 dedicated science teacher, and then in 6th grade, one of the 6th grade teachers teaches science. And the science standards in New York State changed in the last number of years, all the way through, where again, the concepts are not supposed to just be memorized. They're supposed to be able to solve problems, engage in dialogue, have learning experiences that allow complex topics to be explored. So here's a picture of some students this week in science, and they had a lab they had to complete, and they were figuring out matter. So they were mixing different liquids with different powders, and they had to answer questions, they had to work together, they had to collaborate on what to do, so it was really great to see them working so well together. And I won't go through all of this, but we want the students to be able to do all of this and be professional scientists and engineers, but again, our garden is just a perfect example of how students can take science concepts and use it in real life situations. And I think almost all of you sitting in this room who are students have worked in our garden at some point. So here's a picture of some students in the garden with actually vegetables that we grew. So I think our garden is just a great place for students. One of the ways that they can show their learning and demonstrate it in a real life situation. And now the best part. Might I have Jeff and Amir come on up? So one of the things, or one of the areas we've been working on at the elementary school for the last few years is student goal setting. So the idea is that students understand the importance of setting a goal, learn how to set a goal, learn about, thank you, Dr. Morrow, the steps in goal setting, making sure they're a SMART goal, that they make sense. So in Mrs. Mellis's 5th grade class, I happened to be in the room this week, so I asked Mrs. Mellis if she'd be willing to share 2 of her students with all of you. So the students in Mrs. Mellis's class chose to do Google Slides, and so they had to choose a goal that they wanted to work on for the year, and not the year, I'm sorry, the goal they wanted to work on for a period of time. And so we want to start first. We'll have Amir go first. I'll stay up right here with you. And you can talk about what your goal is and then why you chose that goal, okay?
So my goal is reading different genres because I mostly read fiction. So my steps are first to ask recommendations from teachers or friends, then trying to find books in the library or I have, and then start reading the book. And if I like it, well, I might read more of the series if there are more.
Great. So can I just ask, how do you think reading different genres might help you be a better reader, even when you're a grown-up and not just in school?
Because maybe if you read like nonfiction, graphic novels, nonfiction, you might learn about, I don't know, different animals, plants that you haven't known about.
And do you think maybe trying new genres, you might find something you love that you never would have
Yeah.
found if you didn't actually read a new genre? I like it. Do you want to add anything else?
No.
Thanks so much. All right, Jeff, you're up. You can say what your goal is.
So my reading goal is to go back and reread, because often when I'm reading, I don't understand something and I never take the time to go figure out what happens and go back and reread. So I want to go back and reread so I can understand the book properly.
How do you think that will help you?
Maybe we're like learning about something and I don't understand the book, so I have to go back and reread so I understand it.
So you're reading for understanding. I love that. And I like your last line. You said, "I will not look around my surroundings so I don't get lost." Was that something that would happen sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I look around because kids are making funny faces. So
Well, they would never. Yes, they would. All right, great. Did you want to add anything else?
no.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. So we're doing this K through 6. This is not just the upper grades. Of course, our kindergartners are not necessarily setting same types of goals, but all of the teachers, we did this last year as well. The teachers start with a class goal. Even the older students, they'll start the year with a class goal to refresh their memories. But our big focus this year is getting the students to really internalize why it's important to set goals. We all set goals, but that not everyone was clear about why it's important to do that. So, any questions about the goals?
Is it done just in meeting, or are you doing it in other areas at this point, or not yet?
Thank you. I did ask the teachers to do a reading and a math goal at some point, but we also talked about, when you're first learning, I wanted to be concrete for the kids. But we also talked about there are students and adults who might need practice to set a goal in organization or time management. So one of the things that we talked about was, especially with the older students, to let them choose any goal they want about anything. But in order to teach them how to set goals and have a plan, we were very specific. But some of the teachers are already working on areas of, letting the students think about something they want to try. Maybe it's something brand new they've never done. But I like a number of the kids picked different genres, and the adults, we were laughing that sometimes we read the same genre over and over and over again. And so it made me think, like, I probably should try a new genre. Yeah, right? We do that. So it was great. Actually, the kids are really doing a great job with it. Very quickly, we've been meeting in data review meeting about 2 or 3 times a month just to review assessment data. So this is our 3rd grade team this year that was meeting. I asked them if they would be kind enough to let me take a picture of them working together. So teachers pick an assessment that they like to use. It can be a formal assessment, it can be an informal assessment, and they talk together about what they see, some next steps, students that need to be scaffolded higher, that they got this, we can move on, students that need some review, and then they work together as a grade level team or a department to make some decisions for their instruction. And it's been going really, really well, I have to say. And Dr. Morrow saw one of the groups last year, and it was amazing conversation that was happening amongst the teachers. And then before I hand it off to Mr. Rush, we are doing K through 8. Last year, we started the iReady as a diagnostic tool that all students, so last year we, February and May. This year we're doing September, January, and May, June, where the students will take the assessment 3 times a year. It gives personalized instruction based on their results. Now, we don't use iReady as an instruction over teacher instruction, but it is good practice. And what's great about iReady is if I take an assessment in math and I come out as I'm a sixth grader, but it shows that I'm really on a fourth grade level. iReady will bring me to where I am for me to practice. It's right where I need to be, not where it's too hard. So again, we don't use it a lot as the online instruction, but it is great reinforcement, maybe a little bit of homework. And the students seem to like it. So I've heard, especially the little guys, when they do certain things, they get a video or they get a cat or something pops up, and the kids think that it's great. So far, again, we're all just learning it. We really only took the assessment twice. We're really starting to dive into the data now for the students that just finished it. So I think you're up. Any questions for me before I? No? All right.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Neill, and thank you to our families and students for coming out tonight. Two cool things I just kind of realized is that over the course of this presentation, you're going to see how the content and the curriculum does shift from your elementary grades all the way through your high school career. And also just a note about the iReady, that has been and will be continuing to be a great tool for us as educators. So when our students are coming from 6th grade into 7th grade, we have more information on what needs our students have and how we can help them as well. So it'll continue to grow and be an awesome tool. So let's go on this journey together. So here's our middle school requirements. There is a big difference between middle school and high school. High school, you have credits that are required. Attendance is a piece of that credit requirement. In middle school, it's exposure to these different content areas. And within each content area, there are also standards. So as our middle school is comprised of 2 grades, 7th and 8th grade, it's broken down to units of study. So 7th grade would be Unit 1, 8th grade would be Unit 2. So that's the standard for our English, social studies, science, math, world language, whether it be French or Spanish, physical education. While students take it every other day, it's actually really technically broken down into quarters because it's based on the semester. Health also for students. During middle school, they'll have 1 year of health. And then as it goes to the arts, we'll have visual art with Mr. Gosnell, and we'll also have music, which is either our band, chorus, or orchestra, and sometimes a combination of the two. Our library information skills is infused with our English department. Our English teacher, Mrs. Governale, works frequently with Mrs. Johnson in our library. There's no career development and occupational study requirement unit, but addition of Mrs. Health, working with our middle school teachers, that is something that we're doing more of in terms of career exploration at the 7th grade level. And then our career and technical education, we're lucky to have Mr. Wisnowski and Mr. Pfister, who are doing our technology for grades 7 and 8.
Question?
Yeah.
2 questions. So visual art and music, is that a half year for each of those?
Yes.
And is it both years then?
So what we do here is we actually do like a wheel of a cluster where it's a quarter for each, and it's an alternating day each semester. Okay. So you'll have art opposite tech, and then the next semester you'll have, I'm struggling right now, you'll have the other 2 opposite each other.
What's the other?
Home and careers, family career, yes.
Is that under career technical education? Is that part?
That would be part of the CTE as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, but so you're doing all of those for both years then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So as part of our initiative of really providing our students with an enriching opportunity, filling their schedules so students don't have study holes at the middle school level, we had asked our teachers to propose new elective courses. Then we had our students vote on them. So tonight we are going to talk about 2 of our middle school electives, and our students are going to do some cool presentations. So first up, we have our coding and video game design, taught by Mr. Wisnowski, and we have Kyle and Tristan Davis, who are the best dressed young men here, by the way. The bow ties are phenomenal. So I'm actually going to pass it on to Mr. Wisnowski real quick.
These guys are going to do all the talking.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just here to help them set up.
My name is Kyle Davis. I am a student of Mr. Wesnowski's coding and video game design class. So one of the projects we made in his class is a game called Pong. And this is like a simple game to make because there's only 3 levels of code, and that is for each sprite, and that includes the ball, the paddle, and the game over. So basically, when you put all the code together, it kind of talks to each other to create like a game or something else. So basically, what this does is it makes the paddle follow your mouse, and it makes the ball bounce off the outer walls and to bounce off the paddle, and if you hit the black line, there's a block of code that stops all the code, and it makes the game over appear. And the only way how you could play it again is if you click the green flag. In the top left, those are variables, so how I made the your score is each time the ball hit the paddle, it goes up by 1, and for the highest score, it's out of all of the people who have played my game, whoever has gotten the highest score, it would present up there, and my game has gotten over 950 plays. My name is Tristan Davis, and I'm also one student from Mr. Wesnowski's coding and video game design. But before I talk about Fallen Apples, I just want to mention my Pong game. It got almost 3,000 views, as you could see right there. It got on the front page twice, which is the main page. It got selected into the Scratch Design Studio, which they have every month, and they have an AI that randomly picks projects in that studio and puts it on the front page, and I guess I was lucky because it got put up twice.
So what is Scratch?
It's a website where you could make games, animations with code.
Oh, okay, so when you say it got put up there and you've gotten views and all these things, there's other students all over.
Yeah, there's 40 million registered people.
Wow.
Well,
Gotcha. So you go and you create something on there, and then so that's very cool.
So
Of course you are.
this is my Fallen
Yours is
Apples.
the best.
So this is my Fallen Apples game. I made a little thumbnail. I could probably do more about it. So these 2 blocks right here, so when you click the right arrow, it moves X coordinate by 10. And when you click the left arrow, it moves it by -10. And these 2 blocks right here give it a walk-in animation. So what you do is you don't want to touch the red apples, but you want the golden apple because it makes you smaller for 10 seconds. It makes it easier for you to dodge the apples. Every time you dodge an apple, you gain 1 score, and every time you hit an apple, you lose 1 life. And when you hit 0 lives, it's game over. And I made my project a bit better by making a custom game over screen. It's like an explosion. Then you just get the game over thing. That's just wiggling. And it's harder than Pong because you have to code each individual apple, and there's a lot of apples you have to dodge. I have 7 apples added. I didn't want to make it too hard because then people wouldn't like to play it. So you have to code each individual apple. To make the rabbit turn left and right, I had to go into the costumes. Then what I did is I copied it, then I just clicked this button to turn him around. And to make the thumbnail, you could just put whatever you want. I made it 3D, you can't really tell it though. And this is the code to make it disappear and appear when you click the green flag and stop sign.
How do you make the apples keep coming down? Where's the code that says? Oh, I'm curious. So if you look at it, when you first click the flag, it shows the apple, which is right there.
Yeah.
Then it would go to this random position from here to here, and then forever it'd change X, Y. It would change Y position by -5. It's changed for each apple to make them fall at different speeds. And when the Y position is at a certain number, it will teleport back up to the top and just keep falling because it's in the forever block. And When it touches the rabbit, it will go back up and it will change lives by -1.
Okay, so you have to put all that stuff in?
Yep.
Wow, see, aren't you good you learn math in elementary school?
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's really cool. Very cool.
I've also made projects like more complex than this. Yeah.
So if I go, can I go?
We won't understand. Too old.
Yeah, you need to make an account. You don't really need a user, but
So anybody can go and scratch?
Correct, anybody can go, you don't need to, yep. Because as you can see, we're not signed in here, and they can access the account. Nobody signed in. So I made them make an account to create and save and archive their stuff and build stamina. So as you see, the original game Pong is like the game from the 70s. Some of you guys might have played that. Yeah, yeah. So there's only like 3 tiers of code, and my goal is to just build stamina, just like if you were coaching sports or doing anything else. I teach driver's ed. We don't start driving to the expressway, we start driving locally, and then you build your stamina, just like running. And for soccer, why are you doing this? It's the same thing, you start out basic. And what I like about this, the X and Y axis is universal. No matter what code, whether you're coding the robot or whether you're using the CNC machine, X and Y axis is still there. It's moving side to side and up and down. So it's a nice thing to have.
if you want to create
These
your
guys
own,
are rock stars. They
if
are.
you want to create your own game, you'd have to make an account. That way it could save, and then once you verify your email, you could share it with like the whole world, and they could like play your game, comment on it. And if you look at Kyle's, he has a high score cloud variable.
Me too.
When you first make a Scratch account, you get put as like new Scratcher, and cloud variables won't work unless your account status is just Scratcher. In order to do that, you have to be on Scratch for 2 weeks and have at least one project shared for the cloud variables to work.
And I chose this class because I knew I could help other students making other games, because I've been using this website for about 2.5 years now.
Well, so you guys have been messing around with video games for a while, huh?
Yeah, and I chose this because basically the same reason, except I've been using it for like more than 3 years.
You guys are amazing. That's really cool.
I have no idea what a cloud variable is, so you're going to fill me in, and I just hope the rabbit's okay. But this is an awesome example of students that are interested in a course that are diving full head on, and it's involving skills that can be used outside of the classroom and applied to other areas. We talked about variables, we talked about X and Y axis, which is going to follow through math forever. So thank you, Davis Boys and Mr. Wesnowski. Next up, we have mythology with Mrs. Governale. I had to beg these fine young ladies to come down, and they obliged. I owe them candy, which is totally fine. But I'd like to introduce Brielle Schooled-Born, Brielle Charabas McLaughlin, Sophie Phoebe Simchek, and Brooke Iwaki Torkelson. Those are their mythology names. So ladies, come on down. You know what? Come over here. There you go.
Hi, I'm Brielle, aka Charybdis.
And I'm Brooke, aka Iwaki.
And I'm Sophie, aka Phoebe.
We're here to tell you about our class mythology.
In mythology, we practice our reading skills to learn about different myths from various cultures and time periods. So far, we've learned about Native American mythology and trickster gods. We've made posters to showcase the interesting facts we've learned.
This is interesting because we learned the various cultural perspectives on how the world was created and how these stories impacted modern culture.
We're excited to learn more about ancient Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology next. That's it.
One question, girls.
Yeah.
Why did you pick mythology? Because you don't have to take one of these electives, but you chose to. So why did you choose mythology?
I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah, you go.
I don't know, I'm just kind of interested in it, and I don't know, it seems cool.
I thought, I liked Egyptian mythology in 6th grade, and I don't really like coding. But
Right, okay.
I liked Greek mythology last year, And I don't know, I thought it was going to be interesting, and it is.
Very cool.
So what did you say you just finished was Native American mythology?
And also, like, we,
And we're doing.
yeah,
and
we're doing
like,
trickster gods. So
Yeah.
we all, like,
Trickster gods, that's part of,
Yeah.
what is that Native American? Or is
No,
that
no, no, that's just like,
all.
all?
yeah.
Oh.
So we
trickster
all-
gods, so trickster gods are different kinds of Ethiopian periods or Arabs.
Yeah.
Right, both are meeting every other day. There's 2 sections for each one.
For a semester or the year?
For the year. So it took some trickstering, but middle school was able to fit alternating day to go opposite our music programs. And then same thing for coding, where our high school electives are mainly semester based.
Right, okay.
Yep. Which accounts for the same time.
Yeah.
So
Girls.
we're going to get to Viking mythology?
Yeah, Norse.
Okay. And we get to that, we know.
Okay.
Okay.
That's probably it.
Girls, nice job. Thank you so much. Yeah, they were just doing this in class, which is very cool. All right, so that covers our middle school right now. So we're going to move on to our high school course requirements. And as I said before, as you progress through, you're going to see that it gets more and more in-depth in terms of what the state requires us and how we accomplish these credits and goals. So for our English, you require 4 credits towards graduation, English 9, 10, 11, and 12. For social studies, also the 4 credits. It's going to be global history and geography, which is 9th and 10th grade, U.S. history at 11th grade, and then a half credit for participation in government and economics as a 12th grader. Moving on to science, they require 3 credits. We typically do this in life science, 1 credit in life science, which is typically living environment, physical science, which is earth science, and then life or physical science would be the 3rd, and that's typically chemistry. We do have other courses that meet that requirement as well, like forensics and marine, but I'll cover that in our next slide about additional courses. Please.
Did social studies used to be 3 and now it's 4? At one point, was it 3 credits required?
I can only speak to my time in high school, and it's always been these, yes. I mean, I'm talking like 10 years, you know. I didn't play Pong, though, so I can't talk about that.
So science, it's 3 requirements of science. So it's 1 life, which is biology.
Yes.
Earth science is 1. You have 2 there.
It's the second of the sequence that are required.
Oh,
The
okay.
second for
And
life or
the
physical
third
can be
could
either.
Is student choice.
Student choice.
Physics, could be chemistry,
Yes.
forensics, whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. For mathematics, we typically go through, for these 3 credits, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. But again, some students elect to do a different type of math course to meet that requirement in lieu of Algebra 2. For world languages, they require 1 credit. We have French or Spanish. And then it's 1 full credit in art, music, dance, or theater. That's our art courses with Mr. Gosnell, music, band, chorus, or orchestra. And we don't right now currently have courses in dance or theater. Physical education, very similar to our middle school. It's a quarter for each semester, and our students continue to do that. Even if students were, say, to take more than 1 phys ed class, if they wanted to, they're still required to be enrolled in it during their time in high school for the 4 years.
No more trigonometry?
Trigonometry, no, it used to be Algebra 2 Trig, but then probably about 8 years ago, they fused the 2 together, which still continues to be a difficult course because of that, exactly. That they shifted that when it moved to the Common Core.
There's only one year of world languages required?
1 credit, yes.
Does that include the 7th and 8th grade year or no?
The 7th and 8th grade year, they require 2 units. The way we structure it also is that students can come into 9th grade, pass that course, and then that meets their high school requirement. They have the Checkpoint A and Checkpoint B exams.
Okay. So didn't that used to be that there was more greater requirement in world languages?
I don't recall. I believe, like I said, since I've been here, it's only been the 1 credit for the high school.
Mine was 3 years.
Yeah, it just seems that, and I guess maybe for an advanced diploma it's more.
Yes. And one thing I'm not diving deep into is that there are so many different pathways and a lot of different, not only diplomas, but designations also, where taking additional credits and courses above the requirements lead that to those pathways. I don't want to bore everybody, you know. So again, health is a half credit, and then also your elective credit. That is meant to be a general term, which would be additional language credits. It could be additional math, or it could be some other our elective classes like psychology, philosophy, or the ones we're going to speak about tonight.
Is that 22 credits the state requirement or Southold requirement?
That is the state requirement.
Is there an opportunity to do calculus for kids who are really advanced? Is that an elective here?
We have calculus here, yes. All right, so these are the additional courses that we have here. In our English department, we also offer AP Language and Composition, which you would take as an 11th grader to meet that requirement. Same thing for AP Literature in 12th grade. Part of our English department is also our Virtual Enterprise program, which is a combination of College Business English and also the Virtual Enterprise course. So the Business English class also would meet your 4th year requirement as a senior for English. Social Studies, very similar. AP US is in 11th grade. AP Government and Politics in 12th grade, meet the state requirements. We also offer electives, American History through the camera's eye, History of Long Island, Psychology, Philosophy, and a new one this year, Mrs. McBride, is Criminal Justice, and we're going to have some students talk about that next. Through our science, we have AP Biology, AP Environmental Studies, AP Physics, and then I'd mentioned earlier Forensic Science and Marine Science. That's a popular combination to meet that 3rd requirement, but we also have students that may choose to do an AP course for their 3rd as well. We also have College Astronomy and Geology, and new for this year, we have Cosmic Catastrophes and Natural Disasters with Mr. 2. And for math, we have Math Applications, which is an everyday math course for students. We have the Pre-Calculus Accelerated, Pre-Calculus, AP Calculus, Accounting, and also Introduction to Coding. Introduction to Coding is an interesting course because that you can also receive math or science credit for a student. So depending on their course schedule, if they're maybe possibly going to BOCES, we have some flexibility in utilizing that course to help the students meet the requirements needed.
Did that replace something? Didn't we have statistics at one time not too many years ago?
I'm not sure about that. We've had coding since I've been here. So world languages, we offer French 1, 2, 3, and then a combined course of 4 or 5. In Spanish, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Technology, we offer Southold 1 and 2. Woodworking, advanced woodworking. Principles of Engineering is also one of those courses that can count as a math or science for students. Agricultural Science. Technical Drawing and Design and Drawing for Production are running concurrently. They're running together during the same period. And then we also have the architectural drawing as well. Family Consumer Sciences, we have Culinary Arts right now, which is a part of that elective credit for students. Some years we offer food preparation. That's based on student interest, and a great piece of that class is a lot of it is geared for students that might be entering into the culinary workforce. For art, we offer studio art, ceramics, painting, drawing 1 and 2. And then our music department, we offer band and symphonic band. We also offer a course, orchestra, and AP music theory. Physical education, on top of our typical phys ed courses, we also provide Fit for Life, which it could be used for the students' physical education credit, and it's just another kind of alternative physical education that's focusing on everyday health, nutrition, and a lot of different aspects, which is great. So required Regents exams, the state still has exams that are required to graduate in New York State. So your typical pathway is that in English, you'll take English 11 Regents. Social Studies, you'll take Global History in 10th grade, US History in 11th grade. For Science, you'll take Living Environment or Earth Science. So now while you require both of those courses for the credits, you only require one of the Regents for graduation. Mathematics, typically Algebra 1, but you only need the one Regents in math. But I've never been someplace where they take geometry instead of algebra for that requirement. So total exams needed are 5. There are many pathways that you could substitute some exams for different pathways, whether it's CDOS, it's vocational education, but it becomes very complicated with some maps and charts that we would need. So new high school electives. I had mentioned earlier that we were fortunate enough to have teachers propose new electives for the school. Teachers proposed many electives, we put course descriptions together, and then we put it out to students for surveys. Students voted on the courses that they wanted to take. One, to me, that's student engagement. That means students are choosing to take these courses that they do not have to take. It takes them out of study halls. fills their schedules. So what I was very happy to see is we have 100 less students in study halls from last year to this year, and I was also able to eliminate 8 sections of study halls, which is phenomenal because that frees up staff for supervision, extra help throughout the day, and it means that students are filling their schedules with something that's definitely, in my opinion, more a robust educational experience than a 40-minute period of kind of individual time. So I'm going to ask Mr. Gibbs, Luke Gibbs, to come on down. He is a student in our Cosmic Catastrophes and Natural Disasters class with Mr. 2. Come on down, Luke. Clap it up for Luke. There we go.
All right. Hi, my name is Luke Gibbs. I'm a senior here at Southold, and I'm enrolled in the Cosmic Catastrophes and Natural Disasters class. So basically, this class, we go over mostly everything about natural disasters from top to bottom, causes, effects, and what it does to humans and how it affects them. For example, we just finished our volcano topic, which we go over how they start with the magma chambers underneath and then eruptions and how that would affect people and how they have to move and how government organizations have to, I'm forgetting the words, how to prepare for those events. And we also, with our courses, after our topics like volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, we have a little fun and watch a movie at the end. So for volcanoes, we just watched Dante's Peak, which is a movie that is based off Mount St. Helens eruption in the 1980s, I think. And it goes in depth with all the magma, volcanic ash, everything from top to bottom. Very fun class.
Did you build a volcano?
Build a volcano? Not yet. I don't know if Mr. Tio has a plan for that. We'll see.
Come on, Mr. Teo.
Awesome. That's easy. Luke, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luke. Next up, I'm sorry. These are semester courses. Yes, semester courses. Next up, we have Anna Colosi in Mrs. McBride's criminal justice class. Clap it up for Anna Colosi.
Hello, as you know, I'm Anna Colosi, and I would like to start by thanking you all for your time tonight. I'm honored to speak in front of you all this evening. As you know, I'm here representing for one of Southold's newer electives. This year, the student body was lucky enough to be presented with the opportunity of a criminal justice elective, along with a few others. Going into 9th grade is a big change from middle school, but with its long weeks and what seems like endless homework assignments, classes like criminal justice seem to be a silver lining. Originally, I took this elective because of my interest in the court system, as well as wanting to go into law school. Criminal justice introduces students into a more high-def version of the court system compared to what we learned in social studies last year, as well as teaching them about their rights as an American citizen. Our teacher, Mrs. McBride, has done a phenomenal job helping us understand the law, but the information gained from this class is not the only thing I enjoy about it. In criminal justice, most of our work is done in group projects or independent work, bettering social skills between students. From this class, along with a better insight on the ways of the court system, I have been lucky enough to grow very close with a few peers, if not just being introduced to various new people who I now call friends. Criminal justice is by far one of my favorite classes, and I cannot wait to take it next year.
And we didn't pay Anna for that. There was no bribery there. Anna did a phenomenal job and also reminded me of, in these elective courses also, we don't set grade-specific electives because we want students to be able, one, to interact amongst grade levels, and two, if they have an interest in a room, to have the opportunity to take these classes.
Are they on a test method or are they graded numerically?
They're likely going to be graded numerically. I'm still going to work on that with the teachers. A lot of this shook out in the summer when we're done with a lot of scheduling and whatnot, so there's still some items that we want to finalize. I think I texted Mr. 2 in August, possibly, and he was happy enough to do it. Next up, we have Senior Seminar of Mrs. Health. Speaking on their behalf, we have Quincy Brigham. Clap it up for Quincy.
Hi, I'm Quincy Brigham. I'm in the senior seminar class. It's really all about what you want to do after high school, whether that's college, looking for a job. So we focus on topics like we've made resumes, we've studied behavioral economics, We've looked into our career interests, where we want to apply to college, budgeting, investing, insurance, banking, credit, taxes. And then one thing that's really cool about the class is that we, it's like a real job, you get paid to show up. So every day we come in, we do what we're supposed to, and Ms. Health gives us a little stack of Monopoly money. And then by the end of the semester, that will add up, and we will, that kind of determines our grade, and we can trade that in at the end of the semester for gift cards to local businesses. Another thing about the class is that we've had a lot of guest speakers come in. So first we had the former CEO of Penguin Publishing, and then today we had an air traffic controller come in, and then tomorrow we have somebody coming in from HBO. I think they do marketing, right? Yeah. And then we've also we are going to watch some impactful movies. So right now we're watching The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. We're going to be watching Founder, The Big Short, Maxed Out, and The Social Dilemma. And then we're also going to be watching shows like on Netflix, I think Explained, and then some TED Talks. And yeah, yeah, it is definitely worth our time.
Thank you, Quincy.
Yeah.
So Quincy was paid to be here tonight, it sounds like. So right now I would say between senior seminar, we have probably like 25 students total right now, or 30 across all year taking the course. The ideal will be every senior is taking this. So right now we've almost half the entire class. Again, a lot of scheduling magic. Mrs. Help is phenomenal, has been very flexible in terms of adapting schedules for this as well. Our other electives, multiple sections, we're looking at between 15 and 20 in the sections too. So they're very well enrolled, the students are enjoying them, and we also will be providing credit for this too in that elective realm. So very happy about that. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you, everybody. And the man himself, Dr. Morrow.
So thank you guys for all coming. I really appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you. I'm going to turn this. It's nice to hear from you guys about your classes. And it was also nice to be able to put it together where you pick what you want and we run based on what you pick. You've seen these last two slides many times before, but I just wanted to put them at the end of this presentation to point out the fact that these are things that we value as a district. That came from surveys from parents, from students, from employees, from community members. And from that work, we came up with the district commitments that the board adopted at the last meeting, and those will eventually turn into goals and action plans as we continue to go forward. And all of our work that we do in these areas, these values, the things that we value and the things that we commit to do, show up. Some of those things are, developing well-rounded students, so you see courses and areas that are all different. And when some of our kids got up today, they talked about what's next after high school, because what's next after high school is individual, and it's a different path for all different people, and our job is to prepare kids for whatever that path may be that they choose to be on. So we wanted to put these two slides at the end of the presentation and just end with that, because all of the work that we do is centered around these commitments and these values that we set. We will put this presentation up on the website so that anybody that wants to view it can see it. And again, I thank everybody for coming. I thank you guys for your presentation. It's very informative, and it allows our community and our board to see what all of their hard work really amounts to. This is, again, a portrait of our graduate, very similar pieces from before. And then, like I said, we thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
They're going differently.
No, the little ones.
They'll know, they know. guys can go if you want to.
They don't have to sit through the regular business.
Although we'll see how quickly we can.
Unless you want them to and they want to hear it.
So if you don't mind, I'm actually going to jump out of order because I just wanted to, well, there's still a few people here, point out. The New York State School Boards Association recognizes last week as School Board Recognition Week. And although we're a week late, I think it's still important to recognize our school board members. It's a time to promote awareness and understanding of the different important work that they perform as board members. It takes a strong school to build a strong community, and the men and women that we have on our board devote countless hours making sure our schools help every child learn in their best way, which you could see from the presentation that you saw. That work ends up coming into fruition with our kids. The key work of school boards is to provide our students with a safe, comprehensive education that allows every student to become the best version of themselves. School board members volunteer countless hours to give the Southold citizens a voice in educational decision-making. A school board position is completely volunteer, different than some other states and some other countries. All of the time that they spend here and the time they spend reading things at home and answering things is voluntary. The members serving our district and their years of service are as follows. Pauletta Frias, 19 years of service. Judy Fourchette, 18 years of service. John Crean, 13 years of service. Scott Latham, 11 years of service. And Brian Tobin, 8 years of service. Your service to the Southold community is greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Thank you. Cleared out this auditorium quick, didn't you? All right, that brings us to consent agenda, which includes the approval of our minutes from our meeting of September 28th and our work session of October 12th. It also includes our financial matters, which are our bills, our treasurer's report, our monthly budget status report, transfers, extra classroom activity funds, contractor for the choreographer, and some donations. Home Depot has donated the following items to the Southold School recess shed: 3 5-gallon Homer buckets, 2 packs of storage hooks, 3 16-quart storage boxes, 1 5-shelf unit. That's pretty cool. And then we're surplusing a whole bunch of stuff that I won't bother to read. The consent agenda also includes our CSCs. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Old business? Nothing? Superintendent's report? I'm guessing.
I did it already.
I'm guessing you did it?
Yep, he was trying.
I think you got this done. That brings us to some personnel. We have Susan Connolly, resignation effective October 20th. Stephanie Berberich is a child care leave effective April 6, 2023 through June 23rd, 2023. And then we have some part-time temporary employees entering the district. Substitute teacher Tara Richards. Play club will be Susan Rogers and Pam Palmer. Junior senior high club advisors, Early Act. That's Early Interact, right? That's Interact for the junior high? That's what I thought. Lori Mara, Interact Ali Salmaji by herself instead of with Lori Mara. Middle school robotics, Mr. 2. Coaching, varsity girls winter track, Bill Heine and Tim McArdle will share the position. Junior high boys basketball, second team, Pete Salerno. Junior high girls volleyball team, second team, if needed, John Palmieri. Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's personnel recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I do have to read these, but I'll read them really, really fast. These are about our funds and the monies that will be from last year's budget are now we're funding the funds. Is that right, Mr. Scheid? Did I say that correctly? We're putting the money in the funds from last year's budget. The Capital Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Capital Reserve Fund previously established pursuant to 3651 of the Education Law as authorized in the board resolution at the June 23rd, 2021 or 2022? That should be 22. Board of Education meeting in the amount of $950,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Retirement Contribution Fund, known as the ERS. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the district treasurer to fund the Retirement Contribution Reserve Fund, ERS, originally established in 2007 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6R in the amount of $100,000 to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'm just looking at it on here.
The retirement
Wait a
contribution
minute, that was for how much? 100,000?
100,000. Does it not match over there? I didn't even look at it.
No, it's just the top is, the top of the spreadsheet is just out of order with the bottom of the
Okay.
spreadsheet. So, all right, ERS
Okay.
is 100,000.
TRS, the Retirement Contribution Reserve. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the District Treasurer to fund the Retirement Contribution Reserve Fund, known as ERS/TRS, originally established in 2019 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6R in the amount of $250,000, to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Workers' Compensation Reserve Fund. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the District Treasurer to fund the Workers' Compensation Reserve Fund, originally established in 2008 pursuant to General Municipal Law 6-J in the amount of $76,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Repair,
Okay. No, I would just figure something out, I'm sorry.
Repair Reserve. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the additional funding to the Repair Reserve Fund authorized by the voters in May 2009 in the amount of $250,000 to be funded from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Employee Benefit Accrued Liability Reserve. Be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the District Treasurer to fund the Employee Benefits Accrued Liability Reserve, previously established pursuant to General Municipal Law 6-P in the amount of $60,000 from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion, Judy, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are done.
Okay.
Finance Committee report.
Okay.
We're going to put that with the independent audit report, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah. Not yet, yeah.
Which is why the Finance Committee met via Zoom because our
That's all right.
our guy, Cullen and Danowski, has had some medical issues, so it was better that we met via Zoom. So it was Brian, myself, Chuck, Mr. Scheid, and Dr. Morrow, and Chris Reno. So just the highlights of that, page 62. No deficiencies or internal weaknesses in our financial statements. We got a clean audit, a very clean audit. One of the best indicators of that, and that everybody in our business office knows what they're doing, is that there were only 6 journal entries to the financial statements this year, and that is huge because that happened, and which is, we've been consistent with that in the office, so it means they know what they're doing, and that's really, really important. So, because there was a time when we would have 30 of those at the end of the year, so that speaks to good things. So really, the only other things that really came up were some of the recommendations that they have, but they're not about our financial statements. It's more about just making sure we're following operating procedures and rules and regulations. And these are nothing that we haven't seen a little bit before. Mr. Scheid has a response corrective action plan. One is our fund balance for the school lunch fund is still a little bit over what it should be. The plan is to continue to address where we can utilize those funds to purchase equipment and things like that in the cafeterias, things that we are allowed to use it for, and to slowly bring that down without spending the money in ways that we don't need to spend the money. I mean, we want to make sure that we're doing it right. So we're fine there with that. The audit committee is fine with him, with the action plan that we have there. The extra classroom activity funds, we did get a few instances where we are not paying sales tax on our purchases. And so what we talked about were procedures on how we can better make sure that that happens. Often what the problem is vendors don't understand that just because we're in a school, we don't have the same nonprofit status that, or tax exempt status that that the school has, because New York state law doesn't allow that. So there are a couple ideas, and Mr. Scheid and Dr. Morrow do have an idea on how we can make sure that that doesn't happen at the end of the year, because we want that one to go away, only because it's pesky to have it on there. There was conversation about clubs and the elementary student extracurriculars, how technically New York State says they're not supposed to happen in elementary school. We have decided to respond to that with the fact that we will continue to have our student council and our drama club. It is sixth graders, it's not early elementary. They are involved in the organization in an educational manner in the way in which New York State intends extracurricular clubs to be. So our response is that that is how we are going to continue to handle it, and that will start to come off of the auditor's report because we have addressed it. Pretty much that is it, I believe. There was nothing else. Oh, there was also the grants, I'm sorry. And federal grant compliance has to do with our single audit and getting grants, and basically what it comes down to is policy. We needed to have a policy on how we were going to comply with the federal grants and how they operate. Mr. Scheid again has a draft policy written. It has been submitted to our legal, our attorneys, and they are now working out the details on that. So that will be done by the end of this year. And there were no other new issues that came up. Those were the only ones. So we have accepted the audit as the audit committee and recommend that the board do the same. And
You're making the motion to accept the independent audit report of the financial records
I
for the fiscal
certainly
year
am.
ending June 30th, 2022, as prepared by Cullen and Nanowski LLP, and approval to send the corrective action plan?
And that is exactly what I am doing. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that, Judy. So, building committee report,
Nothing to report.
policy, nothing to report. District-wide safety plan, Dr. Mora, do you want to say something before?
Yep, so the safety committee, inclusive of people from in and out of the district, have met, updated the plan and gone through it. We need to make a motion to adopt it. Much of it is really a boilerplate plan that the state puts out, and then the rest is individualized based on our responses. And we have teachers, administrators, we have law enforcement, community members that all sit on it. And we've gone through it, we've met, and we've updated it. So we need a motion to accept it.
May I have a motion to adopt the 2022-2023 district-wide safety plan?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it is posted on our website for anybody to see. The comprehensive school improvement plan, we did a presentation on that, and also the school comprehensive educational plan. We did a presentation on that over the summer. At that point in time, I should have put it on the agenda to be adopted the day that we did the presentation. It just slipped my mind that I forgot to do it, but we are required to have it board adopted. It's the one that we do with Judy. So.
Okay, so the first one is I need a motion to adopt the Southold Union Free School District's comprehensive improvement plan for 2022-23.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I need a motion to adopt the school's comprehensive educational plan for 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business?
Both of those are on our website.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
New business?
No.
Second hearing of visitors. Would anybody care to address the board at this time? Mike, do you want to say something? Hi, Mike.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Domino. I've the honor of being appointed by the town board to the town's anti-bias task force. I'm one of a dozen or so working members. First of all, I want to thank you for your work on behalf of the community, all of you, really.
Thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity to speak here and also see how the school's evolving. That's incredible and encouraging. I reached out earlier this week to Dr. Morrow and sent via email. We met back early in April. I introduced myself. And the reason I reached out is the Anti-Bias Task Force is looking at the school safety and incident reports for schools in the community. And we'd like a little tutorial on that. It's kind of confusing to us, the report itself. Dr. Moore returned my email very promptly and was gracious enough to offer a meeting, which we will arrange. I hope to speak to you later on and set up a time, perhaps next week, with another member of the Anti-Bias Task Force. And that's basically it. So thank you very much. Just wanted to introduce myself.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to our board member commentary. Welcome, Brendan Mullen. I think that's who it is down there.
Yep.
Are you really a senior this year?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so at our board meeting each month at this time, you can just tell us what's going on, what's on the students' minds, what's going on in Southold Junior Senior High School. The microphone is yours.
So tomorrow is our high school Halloween-themed dance, and it's taking place, it's taking over the spot of our homecoming dance, as that was canceled, and this week we have a wide variety of themes of dressing up, and today was bring anything but a backpack to school day, and we had a lot of people participating in that, so we want to do something along the lines of that again, because everybody was like really happy about that theme. And tomorrow we're doing dress up as like a movie character day, and yeah, and we moved our Spirit Week, which was going to be in the fall of this year, to the spring, but we had some disagreement on that, but I think people will prefer it, as it gives you something to look forward to in the end of the year.
What are you going to be tomorrow?
Don't tell her. You're not required to answer that.
I want to know what kind of movie stars.
Turn the camera off.
And what kinds of things did people bring instead of backpacks?
So I brought a tire, like a car tire.
Of course, you're a Mullen.
Shop right at the Mullins here.
Okay.
Someone brought a shopping cart, laundry basket, cereal boxes,
Oh, my goodness.
a wide variety, yeah.
Nobody brought their parent in, though, to carry
No.
this over. Okay, sure.
See, when you do that kind of stuff, it would be cool to like put it all out on the front lawn and just take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Of the stuff. You know?
We were able to snap some pictures of everybody's items, and we posted on our Instagram.
Okay, I'll have to look. That's so funny.
Thank you and welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Dr. Crean.
Well, these are my favorite meetings because we actually get to, see students and talk, hear them and see what they're doing. Unfortunately, that's not most of what we do, sadly. It took me probably till my late 20s before I was comfortable speaking in public. It's not an easy thing to do. So when I see fifth graders and sixth graders and even high school students get up with such poise, I'm so impressed. That is not easy to do. I know it. That's who I was. And over time, obviously, things change. But to see these young people, they're very confident. And that's a real positive reflection on what happens in this building, but also what happens at home and in the community. And I think it's wonderful. And that's all I have to say.
Great. Mrs. Foucher?
I just want to say thank you for the thorough presentation. I learned a lot. You think you know what's going on in the schools, and you have a general idea, but I really learned a lot about what's going on all the way, back to the elementary school, comfortable that, we're finding that right balance of what we call traditional, what needs to happen, plus all of the things that I believe in, which is that experiential, hands-on, project-based and stuff like that, all the way up through how we're exploring new things with the middle school and high school students, and engaging them back into
there's things that they have to learn because of New York State and we say so, and it's good for them. But, on top of that, seeing that a lot of that learning is happening is changing, but also that we're adding things that really, really will make a difference and do make a difference in them wanting to continue to be motivated learners. And thank you so much for showing that. I think it was good for us, and I think it's good for our community to hear that. We continue to do great things here, and it's because we have great leaders, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to the administration, to you guys. The presentations were great. Thanks to the students and their families for bringing them out on a school night. I think we all like these meetings the best when there's student involvement and we learn what's really going on in the daily part of school. Like John says, sometimes it's the other stuff, and that's not what we're here for. Brenda, when you mentioned Spirit Week, it's so funny because I know the dinosaurs were roaming when I was back in high school here. And I was part of the student council that started Spirit Week. And the first year we had Spirit Week, I won't even embarrass myself by telling you what year it was. It was held in the spring.
Oh, really?
It was held at the end of the school year. And it was changed a few years later, just to give you some history, and I don't remember a whole lot from way back then, obviously. They changed it, the decision was made to change it to the fall because it would bring the students together at the beginning of the school year instead of the end of the school year. So there's the two differences of how it started and where it came to, just for a perspective of, and someday I'll share with you some of the events we did on our Spirit Day.
Oh, yeah, the silly ones. Events they don't allow anymore.
Mr. Rush, you don't want to hear those?
They don't allow them
They
anymore.
were all good and above board, and they took place on school property-ish. Let's just leave it at that. It was a great meeting, thank you. Our next regular board meeting is Wednesday, November 16th. My gosh, these months are just flying by. Brendan, I wish this school students a great school year. I know we're into it a little bit, but it was like you were in school for a minute in September, it seemed like, with all this stuff that was going on. So please feel free to bring us any of the concerns of the student body. That's what your role is, and that's what our role is, to listen to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.